Joining us now is our friend, former FBI special agent and president of Guandolo and Associates, author of a great new book, Raising a Jihadi Generation, is John Guandolo. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. Thanks for having me on again.
I just wonder, I mean, I know you're in and around the D.C. area. You have any take on what the heck took place there today?
No, it's a strange occurrence. We had a woman who had a child in her car try to plow through the gates at the White House, led police on a high-speed chase, and was shot and according to news reports, although the police haven't said anything yet, was killed in the shootout. And that's about all we know right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been reporting that. Actually, they don't know that she actually had a weapon, that she fired any shots. There's a question as to whether or not, she panicked or why she did what she did. Did she actually try to crash the gate, or did she hit the barrier while trying to escape from the police? I mean, there's a million questions to be answered, but I just wondered in your capacity and former capacity if you had any opinions or what this might be all about.
Yeah, no, we don't until we know more about her, and there was no identification found at the scene, and according to sources with Capitol Police, there was not a weapon found.
Right.
So be curious what that's about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. You're one of the few people willing to talk about the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood movement here in the United States, and that's what your book, Raising a Jihadi Generation, is all about. You started the FBI training for counterterrorism with the FBI. You held and ran the first classes, and now, of course, those basically have been watered down to non-existent, and in part because of the influence from groups within the United States. Some would say groups like CARE, but also groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, who have infiltrated the highest branches of our government, and now sit on Homeland Security and intelligence and elsewhere, and use their influence to have things like the terrorist training or counterterrorism training with the FBI watered down to where it becomes ineffectual almost.
That's right, and that really is the whole point of the book, is for state, local law enforcement, as well as military analysts and citizens. I mean, I wrote the book in a very tight format, so it's simple to read. It's packed with factual information and evidence. And what it does is it lays out the network that they have here. If you just a few data points, the Muslim Student Association in 1963 was created by the Muslim Brotherhood. It was the first Islamic organization created in America. And over the next 20 years, almost every single Islamic organization created came out of the MSA and was created by the Brotherhood. In 2008, the Holy Land Foundation was the largest Islamic charity in America. At the time it was indicted, and it was convicted of being a Hamas entity. And today we have over 600 MSAs, Muslim Student Associations, on nearly every college and university campus, certainly the major campuses. And we have over 2,100 Islamic centers, a majority of them controlled by the Brotherhood, and they say those centers are the point from which they're going to launch the jihad. So we have this massive infrastructure, and the practical reality is that not only the subversion that you're talking about and the political influence that's going on, because we know that, as we talked before here, the leaders, the advisors to the FBI, CIA, DHS, Department of Defense, we've identified them by name as being a part of this movement. But the other thing is these major jihadi events. We have the 9/11 report tells us that the Islamic Center in Southern California, where two of the San Diego hijackers were, is a Muslim Brotherhood front, and that provided logistical support.
And the same thing in Boston, the Boston Islamic Society, the Islamic Society of Boston, the brothers went to, correct?
That's right, and that is a subsidiary of the Islamic Society of North America, which, as you know, is the largest MB front in America, and that was founded by the Al-Qaeda financier Abdurrahman al-Amoudi. You've got the Muslim American Society and the Islamic Circle of North America, brotherhood entities. whose training guide or tarbiyah guide calls for American Muslims to wage war against un-Islamic governments. And it goes on and on. You know, we can just look at the all of these instances that we've had. You can tie back to them being quote-unquote radicalized at Muslim Brotherhood organizations.
How does this happen 12 years after 9/11? How have we gone completely backwards the other way to get to this point where if I say this or you say this, we're going to be labeled as homophobes, Islamophobes. The media will never talk about this. They'll think we're crazy. They won't want, you know, if I was a guest on a show, they would say, you know, if I ever said this on CNN or something, they'd never have me back. How did we get to this point where if you get one or two people who shoot an abortion doctor in 15 years, and if they claim they did it because they're Christian, well, then Christians are nuts too, they'll say. So they'll indict a whole religion over one or two people. But here we have a worldwide movement. We see what's taking place in the Arab countries, the Muslim countries with the killing of Christians, and the African countries. But here within this country, it's in our own country what you're describing in your book. And the media, the government, the people are silent. How did that happen?
Well, there are a couple of things I'd like to maybe encourage your listeners to be open to. One is, you know, these guys came to us right after 9/11, again, wearing suits and ties with smiles, saying, we're here to help you, even though the evidence is that the leadership of all of the prominent Islamic organizations in North America are a part of this movement. That's a fact. But I would also offer this, Steve. I would say the problem isn't them, isn't the enemy. The problem's us. We have lost our foundations, not just as a country, but individually. I think we've lost as communities the very foundation that created this country to begin with. I mean, the Declaration of Independence is the principle upon which the Constitution and everything we have was built. And it says our rights come from our Creator, come from God. And no man and no government can take them from us. And we, as a community of Americans, surrender a little bit of that liberty, which is given to us by God, in order to create a government, a federal government, to protect and secure those liberties, national defense, and the things only specifically articulated in the Constitution. All the rest of our rights, all the rest of the duties and responsibilities reside with the state and with the individuals. And we collectively have allowed those to be stripped from us without any fight whatsoever, because it's happened slowly over a period of time. And it's time that the American people rip those liberties back out of the hands of the federal.
John, when I talk about few people are willing to talk up, another one is my good friend Andy McCarthy, who wrote the foreword to your book. People should go to your website, understandingthethreat.com. Understandingthethreat.com. They could get the book there, which is Raising a Jihadi Generation. Understanding the Muslim Brotherhood Movement in America, Raising a Jihadi Generation, by our guest, John Guandolo. John, a pleasure to talk to you. We'll have you back soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right,
take care.
Take care. All right, folks, when we come back, we'll be joined by Congressman Bill Johnson, Republican from the great